What internet marketing expert should you spend your valuable time listening to? Listen to someone who has over 20 years of web marketing experience and hundreds of website marketing success stories. That man is Aaron Sparks from Site Strategics. And this is Edge of the Web Radio.
Okay, every so often we want to bring a thought leader on the show to discuss key topics that companies have to pay attention to in the digital era.
But today it's not me.
It is not you. I don't think I've ever actually referenced thought leader and Doug Carr at the same time, though. Well, recently, nice. Recently, we shared an article that we saw that was really relevant to what we were talking about, not just to marketing initiatives for companies, but kind of the nature of digital online exposure. The article was 21 Must-Haves in Your Social Media Policy by Gini Dietrich, and we have her on the show right now to talk about that. Welcome.
I'm kind of scared by the way you're treating Doug. Should I be scared?
No, you should not be scared of that.
If you knew him, you'd join in.
Yes.
Jeannie,
I
I'm
would
just
join
saying.
in. All right.
Jeannie,
I'm going to have to go on my bucket list.
everybody does. That's the funniest thing.
We were just talking that they're going to start a support group, I think.
Awesome. I will join that.
Gini Dietrich is the founder and CEO of Arment Dietrich, a Chicago-based internet integrated marketing communication firm. She's also the founder of the professional development site MPR and Marketing Pros, right? Spin Sucks Pro. That is the other entity that you're affiliated with, right?
It is indeed.
Excellent. And you're also the co-author of Marketing in the Round. Now, you have keynote speaking engagements all the time, panel discussions, and coaching sessions across North America and Europe, and we're very honored to be able to have you here. Could you take a moment and tell us a bit about yourself, Jeannie?
You just did.
Oh, okay, fine.
That's
Yes.
All right.
So first tip of the PR industry is brevity. Right?
it. Everybody is good.
She just dropped the mic and walked away, didn't she?
Mic drop out.
There it is. See, your article caught our eye as we're regularly trying to give useful information to our audience, and just about running a company in the digital high exposure age. So, why don't you give me some insights about this space, because there's certainly, and we deal with companies a lot that just don't want to be there because of the risk, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
I mean, how does behavior have to change for companies now?
You're right in that, people are still afraid. They hear the horror stories, of course. They see a lot of risk. They don't understand how it can be measured against real business results. And so they also know that it's a big time constraint, and who's going to do it, and do they have to have a full-time person or a team? So there's all these reasons that we as human beings do when we don't want to do something, or we're scared of change, or we don't want Twitter to be more than 140 characters. We make all these excuses that I'm going to bring that up again.
I can't sense that.
But we do that, right? As human beings, we say we have all these excuses. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to read books. I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do social media, because we hear all these horror stories. And I think the other challenge that most organizations have is they leave the social media policy in the hands of the legal team. And
that's the first mistake.
Having spent the last week and a half with in-house counsel for a client, it has been a great experience for me because they are very, very good. So I love my attorneys, but they're not the right people to be writing a social media policy that you don't want to scare your team away from actually using social.
No, in fact, they're the antithesis of who you want to have running your social or filtering your social.
Correct.
Because they're going to run protection on you. That's their role in the company.
And they're very risk averse, as they should be.
No, absolutely.
So then all of a sudden you have a very scrubbed, very clean, very boring social presence, and nobody's going to follow you. And then there's no return on investment, and there's all this time spent and all this stuff, and it's because it's been completely scrubbed by the legal team. And
you're building a brand that looks much more stoic or dry, or
even worse, unresponsive. Right.
Right. Yeah.
I've heard horror stories of people having to pass things through legal.
Yeah.
And while they're doing that, the fire is raging on.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity of having even a negative brand affect you because you're kneecapping yourself to be able to respond quickly.
Well, and that's the thing. I think it's really about how do you create process so that you can respond quickly, but also, make sure it's on brand and on message, and that you're getting the right information out there and all that kind of stuff.
You mentioned in your article about some legal ramifications in accordance to the National Labor Relations Board laws. And an attorney that you cited recommended a couple things. He said that employers cannot restrict anyone from commenting on his or her work life. That was kind of interesting, is that you'd think that you'd have the ability to protect yourself individually, but they said that's anybody can talk about their work experience. Employers can make sure employees can sign confidentiality provisions, but you also said that the recommendation was that you can have in your policy that employees can't lie, but you can't stop them from saying anything inside of social. Is what was the message there?
Yeah, there's of course some loopholes. So let's say that if an employee says something negative or derogatory about a colleague or a boss or the company on their personal social network, but they've done it from their work computer that's been provided to them during work hours, now you have a little more say. If they've done it, after work hours from their home computer or from their mobile device, you don't have any recourse. There's nothing there. So, there in the beginning, there were some people who got fired because of stuff that they had posted on the social network, and so the National Labor Relations Board has come in and said, okay, here's what we recommend. And employees have rights too. So, the whole point of it is don't be stupid. Don't post anything you don't want your boss to see. Come on. Because your boss is going to see it.
You're absolutely right. You gave a 21-point layout of what you should have on your social media policy, and I love the last point. The last point was just don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
That could just cover everything.
Well, that just knocks out like 70% of America right there.
So 70% of it should not be on. Well, if you wouldn't mind, because we're going to have a link on to the article from the site. But if you would you like to go through a couple of the choice points that you had and elaborate on them a little bit?
Yeah, to your point, don't be stupid. And I put that last as the last point, because if I had put it first, everybody would have stopped reading.
I kind of jumped the shark there. I'm sorry.
But don't lie, don't swear. There's an interesting conversation that happens online about people swearing and whether or not that means that you're completely transparent because you're swearing online. Personally, I don't think it's professional, and I don't think that most brands want their employees dropping the F-bomb every other tweet. So,
Doug Carr. Yeah, exactly.
Stick it in there. The big one for me that never happens is you have to disclose any freebies that you've received or anything you're getting paid to post about.
Right.
And that includes if you work for a PR agency or an ad agency and you're tweeting about a client's product or service, you have to disclose that because you're being paid by that client. If you work for the organization and you have a new product launch coming up and you're like, let's say that there's a new Xbox 360 that's coming out or a new game that's coming out and you tweet about it because you work for whoever owns the company, Microsoft?
Right.
Thank you. You have to disclose that you work there because you're being paid. Now, if you get free books, if you get, review copies of things, if anybody sends you clout perks or cred perks or anything like that, and you've decided to post it on social or blog about it, you have to disclose that you got that for free. And that's a big, big sticking point, and something actually that the FTC is going to start coming down on. They're going to start, of course, with the large companies, but eventually all of us will
They should start with social media consultants.
Yeah, really.
That is right. We should start with the bloggers and the social media.
I'm telling you, I know those guys, and I watch and I say, I see them promoting a company, and I'm like, I know that's their client.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
aren't they disclosing this?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to get in trouble. They will get in trouble for that.
You made a couple key points, like if a topic is one of crisis, do not comment on that, and that should be inside of a social media policy. I mean, there can be, you can do so much more damage in a space if you're not adhering to these type of policies. If you can put gas on a fire just by a stupid comment, right?
Right, or just saying everybody's running around wild here because we don't really know what's up. I mean, just a simple comment like that, which is something you probably say in conversation, can absolutely add gas to the fire. I would also add to that that if your company is about to go public and all the filing's been done and everything, and everybody knows that the company's about to go public, you cannot comment on any of that stuff because there are big bad laws that prevent you from doing that. Even though you'll know internally what's happening and externally they're talking about it in the media, you still cannot comment on that kind of stuff.
And a lot of companies won't think through these ramifications, but there certainly is precedent for everything that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what's sad, is that sad and beneficial at the same time. People have experienced these levels of severity and pain, and that's why these social media guidelines are in place. But at the same time, you can learn from that, right? Don't post about competition unless you have written consent from them to do so is a great point. That's something that, if you're looking at trying to keep away from the third rail, so sometimes you need to have those type of policies in place. Anything else that you wanted to bring to our attention in that particular article? Because there's so many good points there.
Yeah, let me see.
I do like one, if I could, keeping the line between personal and business as clear as possible.
Yep.
And that,
which is hard, right? Because we all try to figure out where is the line and where does it blur, and so you just have to. I think you just have to be cognizant of the fact that you're a professional and you're a human being, and of course those two lives mix for sure. Yep. But maybe you shouldn't be posting about going out drinking with your friends on Thursday night and then not showing up for work on Friday. For instance.
That's more like a termination policy, right? All right.
This is why I'm unemployable.
There are certainly consequences, and they run the gamut, right? Well, this is certainly a great perspective, and in fact, Spin Sucks, the site has a number of other blog posts regarding some social media policies. So you have some great content there. Like I said, whenever I started to research you and what you do and your contributions into the digital marketing community, I saw a lot of connections to what we do here at Site Strategics. And I really wanted to talk to you more about your book, Spin Sucks. So would you mind jumping into the next segment and talking about reputation management?
Would I mind?
that was the goad right there. All righty. Well, we're gonna come up and we're gonna be talking to Gini Dietrich about her recent book, Spin Sucks, and how to communicate honestly, responsibly, and openly to earn trust of your consumers. And we're gonna talk more about OMNICHANNEL if we can. Coming up right after this. Welcome back to the Edge of the Web Radio. We're talking to Gini Dietrich about her recent book, Spin Sucks. I just love throwing that on the airwaves, and how to communicate honestly, responsibly, and openly to earn the trust of your customers. So we want to talk more about the omnichannel marketing as well, but we're going to jump into this. Welcome back to our show, Jeannie.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. So we're continuing our conversation with you. And Jeannie, just to let you know if you hadn't heard the last segment, Jeannie is the founder and CEO of Untitled Dietrich, a Chicago-based marketing and communication firm. And she's also a founder of the professional development site for PR and marketing pro, that's Spin Sucks Pros, and also author of Spin Sucks. I can't stop saying that.
I feel like I should have you follow me around everywhere and just say it.
That'd be creepy. All right.
You're right, it would be.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We got into your recent book for reputation management. It's about just that, and it's such an incredibly important concept now inside of digital marketing, because the consumer has raised to the level of prominence where it's a one-to-one relationship with companies. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. All right. I see where we're going here. Okay. Well, your book has an additional focus into corporate social media space, right? So I'm just... Stop it.
I just love that Jeannie's on the show for the first time, and she's doing what we do to you every single week. Every week he asks us a question, and we don't answer it. And he gives us this look of total frustration. Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm not frustrated with
this. This is fantastic.
He's like, tap dance, I got to tap dance.
Yeah.
Something else.
All right, Jeannie, give me the key concepts of your book. Right back at you.
This is way more fun than my job. I should do this all the time. What sucks is that, we launched the blog 9 years ago with the idea that we would change the perception that people had about the PR industry. And people's perception is that we're spin doctors or liars,
right.
or, we spin the truth, or we make up news in order to get our companies covered, or whatever it happens to be. And, of course, there are people that do that, just like there are bad, unethical people in every profession. And it gets highlighted by Hollywood, it gets highlighted by celebrity publicists and by sports agent publicists, and, things like that, and politicians, of course. So there are bad, unethical people in the business, just like anybody else. But for the majority of us, we do things pretty ethically, and we're pretty honest people. And so that was the genesis of the blog to begin with, is how do we start to change the conversation around the PR industry and help business leaders understand that what we do is contribute to not only brand awareness and reputation, but also to the bottom line. The book came out last year.
Yeah.
Last April, I think.
Yep.
Are we 20? We're 2015 right now. Yeah, it came out last year. And so
Jeannie,
it was
you don't know what year you're in?
Last night I was writing a blog post for today about 2016 planning, and I swear to you I wrote 2017 every time.
Oh, my
I don't
Lord.
know what the problem is. I just completely
She's a time traveler. That's what she is.
It makes me wonder if it's like foreshadowing and something's going to happen next year that we don't want to have happen. We just want to skip it altogether.
Like 140-word characters. They are no longer. Hey, there it is. Third time. There we go. So, you're the entire book, you're focused on telling the truth, right?
Yep.
And using the best techniques to honed by storytellers in different ages. I mean, that's really, and if you think about it, the storytellers that truly grabbed the people were the most honest storytellers, right?
I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about with social, too. It's about transparency and being honest, and don't be stupid and don't lie. And, I think there are things that happen right now that people just don't really even understand that they shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, disclosing that they're being paid to share content or to share information. That's number one. Number two, writing reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So asking people to write a review for you against the law. Not supposed to do that. So, my husband's dentist at the front desk, when you check out, they say,
yep,
if you write a review for us right now, we'll put you in a drawing, and they have a computer up there, and you can write the review. Can't do that. You can't do that. But people don't know that you can't do that. And so that's the point of the book, and, of course, the blog. We talk about all this stuff all the time, is how do you do all of this stuff, and how do you stay ahead of the trends, and how do you know what the law is and what the FTC is requiring, the National Labor Relations Board requires, and how do you know how all of this fits in, and how do you do this without risking your entire organization's reputation or even profit margin because you've screwed something up that you didn't even realize you were doing wrong.
And on top of it, it's a moving target, is that these laws these laws weren't here 3 years ago.
Or even 6 months ago.
I know. And I mean, on top of it, the politicians are going to be cooking up even more laws to make sure that they fence that in. Because of one anomaly, you have a whole nother level of blanket laws that can really restrict you from communicating in these spaces, right?
They're just trying to keep the tubes clean.
the inner tubes.
The inner tubes.
Internet tubes.
Yeah. Thanks, Al Gore.
So you had a number of key points, keeping others from stealing your great content and learning actionable lessons from other successes. So can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts of looking at the competition whenever it comes down to the creative process of content and PR?
Looking at the competition?
Yes.
In terms of not stealing but getting ideas?
Yeah, and learning and what not to do.
It's an interesting topic. We just had this discussion in a team meeting this morning. We have a client that's a startup, and they're very focused on one specific competitor who's the giant in the industry. And of course, this company that's a competitor is it's valued at something like $2.9 billion, and these guys are a startup, but they want to do all the stuff that this big competitor does. So we for sure take a look at competitive social. We look at what they do from a content perspective, that we look at all their advertising and where they're showing up in news stories and all those kinds of things. But it gives us a nice idea of sort of the path to take in order to explode the same way that they did, but also absolutely some things not to do. They totally screwed up some affiliate marketing in the beginning because they didn't have their affiliates disclose that they were affiliates, and so they got a really big, I think it was like $250,000 or $300,000 fine.
Ouch.
So we were able to point to that and say, don't do this. So there's a lot I think you can learn from just paying attention to what the competition is doing.
Yeah,
and to your point in the other segment, which is there's so much out there now, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that wasn't there 6 or 7 years ago, that you can learn from the mistakes that others are making or have made.
You can even capitalize on those. And obviously you don't want to point out the mistakes of your competition, but I mean, there's...
Nanny, boo-boo.
But there certainly is an audience that your competitors are affecting, and that audience is fair game.
For sure it's fair game.
So if they know what one product or one company has done, you can certainly introduce the alternative in a much better fashion, right? So it's the same target, and you can capitalize on those poor messaging tactics and be able to ring their bell, so to speak.
Yep. Well, or let's say that the competitor isn't responding to stuff on social. A great example of this is I used to be an Avis customer, and I was having trouble with them when I was in Denver, and their Twitter handle at the time was "We Try Harder," and so I tweeted them, "We try harder, I'm having trouble, can you help?" And nothing.
Yeah.
Hertz came in about 10 minutes later and
up.
tweeted me, not only did they help me, they helped me get a new car, they sent a car to pick me up because I was stranded. Like, they did all this stuff. Their competitor, Avis, never did anything to help me with it. So you can pay attention to that kind of stuff, too. And it still happens today where people just don't respond, and you can absolutely stick in there and say, I can help you.
That's sweet.
And that's really what we're talking about here is reputation and paying attention to the reputation of your competitors and knowing when you can actually get in and actually wedge between your competitors and their audience with alternative offers and building and pulling them over to be able to follow you and have that deeper and better and more transactional conversation with those customers.
Isn't it great being in a capitalist economy?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
We like Jeanne on this show.
I thought we were trying to change. I thought Bernie was trying to change that.
Oh, well, don't vote for him, I guess.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
You're among friends here, Jeanne. Trust me. All right. Hey, you know what? Can we keep you on for another segment?
I don't know. Can you?
That's we're gonna find out. We're going to take a break here and then come back and talk about marketing in the round, the omni-channel concepts here coming up right after this. We're continuing our talk with Gini Dietrich of Dietrich up in Chicago and author of Spin Sucks, as well as Marketing in the Round. Thank you for continuing this conversation, Jeanne.
I'm not sure I had a choice, did I?
I don't think so. No, we know who you are.
It was really that I was unprepared, so let's just keep going with Jeanne.
Yeah, you're in Doug's segment now, so
I got Doug's segment. This is awesome. All right, let's take full advantage.
You need to start tagging the walls and just spray it around. Okay, well, we were talking about reputation management. We were talking about social media policies for companies. There's so much inside of the digital space where companies need to at least stake their claim. And there's so many times that we're seeing gaps in the digital marketing space where, I mean, that was one point that company called Noam that's at least went out and registered on your behalf different spaces of net marketing just so you could sit and squat on some stuff until you could get to it, right? There's so many areas to be able to monitor, and I mean it can seem so daunting and like whack-a-mole, right? New things come up all the time. Well, there's a lot of different media channels out there, and on top of that, in combination with the traditional media channels of TV, radio, and the like, right? There's got to be consistency in how you deliver your message. Otherwise, you can truly kind of destroy your brand by having counter messages. So you wrote a book called Marketing in the Round. With such a small time left, it doesn't give you that much justice. But, hey, this was Doug's segment, and we really don't give him that much time anyway, for a good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch out.
Yeah. So can you give us an understanding of the omni-channel marketing concept?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is that, as you well know, most the majority of organizations are siloed. And so you don't have the sales team talking to the marketing team. And as you well know, sales and marketing hate one another. You don't have customer service talking to account manager or to product management. And so you have all these silos where people work really great inside their silos, but they're not talking cross-discipline at all.
Right.
And when you have things like social media where people have to respond really quickly, but you also have the legal team who needs to be making sure that you're not saying anything that's going to get you, liable or anything like that. And you also have the PR team who's wanting you to stay on message. And you also have the brand team who's making sure you're representing the brand the right way and all that. But if you're not all talking to one another, that's when you start to have all of those mixed messages. And, oh, my gosh, the person who handles Twitter just said this, so let me get on there and say this. And then, oh, my gosh, that wasn't right either. So now you have 4 different people tweeting about one thing that they didn't think was right. So it's really about how to break down those silos and work together.
Kind of like Keystone Cops.
Seriously.
That really is. So you give some tactics on how to integrate your marketing across all these different silos. So can you give us a couple key thoughts of, it's certainly a great read, but can you give us a couple key thoughts to kind of help instruct some of the listeners here?
I'll give you an example. We worked with a very large organization. They have about 25,000 employees. And the whole idea was, how do we, get everybody to talk to one another? Yep. And a great example of this is that they sent out a package to their customers that said, if you call in by this date or, click this link by this date, you'll get this thing. But nobody told customer service, so all these calls were coming in. And they were like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know what I'm supposed to give them. So that was sort of the catalyst for us launching a program. And what we did is we went to the 25,000 employees and we asked for volunteers who would like to be part of the digital marketing team. And I think we had 220 or 21 or 222 people volunteer.
Oh, my
gosh. On top of their regular job. And then we
narrowed
it down.
222-person marketing team.
Yeah, of course we narrowed it down. We ended up with 20 people, but and it was cross-discipline. So they were in charge of looking at the company initiatives and then going back to their silos or departments and talking about what that all is. It took 2 years, but it eventually started to work extremely well.
Absolutely. And that's what's important, is that they were representative of that. You don't have one group that is just vested in one particular area of the company. They have their own bias. And we talk about this a lot of times on content writing for your site, not writing from a sales standpoint. You need to mine the sales information because they have great understanding of what the customer's pain points are, and you bring that into what the utilitarian content is for your website. So you absolutely have to have a way to dive into your organization. Can you give us an idea? We've got about a minute and a half left here. Where all should companies be looking at from an integrated strategy on the digital front? There's certainly web, there's SEO, but where would you actually recommend for new companies getting in there to try to capitalize on some new ground quickly?
I hate to use this answer, but it depends. It depends on where your customers hang out. It depends on what your prospects are doing.
Yep.
You could, of course, make a generalization recommendation. B2B is usually, you want to start with LinkedIn if you're thinking about social, and B2C is Facebook, although with the changes that they're making in organic reach, I'm not so sure that's the right place anymore. But so you can make some generalizations, but the very first thing I would do is survey my customers and my prospects and figure out where they're hanging out online.
Survey your customers. Your customers are your best focus group, and they're your loyalty right there that will help guide you to where you need to be, right?
They are indeed, and they're the ones who are going to refer business and all that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
For sure.
All right, so lessons learned here are don't be stupid in social media policies, and talk to your customers first before you go out into all different areas of digital marketing. Jeanne, thank you so much for being part of our show today. We really appreciated the conversation.
That was a blast. I would be happy to come back any old time.
You got it. All right. Check out
more often than not.
Fantastic. Check out Spin Sucks online and Marketing in the Round, and go check out Spin Sucks Pro as well. Thank you so much. And this is Edge of the Web. Do not be a piece of cyber driftwood.